Good evening from the News Radio, 1120 and 93.7 FM KPNW studios. I'm Roger Ramjet, and I'm Bill London. I do the wake-up call Monday through Friday morning, 6 a.m. to 9 on KPNW, streaming worldwide at kpnw.com. And our Crazy Oregon News brought to you by none other than Sean Sutherland, the Answer Man. So when you have questions about your insurance, you need to call Ask Insurance, because everybody has questions about insurance. Medicare, call him. Normal insurance, call him. He's Sean Sutherland, the Answer Man at Ask Insurance. Ask him. All right, so we got a lot of different weird stories today. So now, about a year and a half after teachers in the Portland Public School District went on a very nasty strike for major raises and benefits increases and said that the Portland Public School Board was lying when they said they didn't have the funds to pay for all of it. Now here we are, a year and a half later, and the Portland School Board is now discussing closing elementary and middle schools as they're facing a $40 million deficit coming up this next school year. Chief of Schools, Dr. John Franco, said school closures could help the district save money. A federal judge ruled last week that the Oregon State Hospital, that's the mental hospital here in Oregon, is now in contempt of court for not admitting mentally ill detainees fast enough. The average detained person waits at least 20 days to be admitted to the hospital, and it's being fined $500 per person per day for individuals who wait more than a week. Actually, it's the citizens of Oregon being fined because the taxpayers are paying for it. The judge says it's not what the criminal justice system is meant to do, and the state needs to invest more in community care options for mental health. And then yesterday, the Oregon State Hospital was notified of major deficiencies following a review by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Now, this happens, it seems like, about every month and a half. The Oregon Health Authority Deputy Director, Dave Baden, says that it's a call for immediate action to improve patient care and safety. The report cited instances of system-level failures. All of this could lead to Medicare and Medicaid funding being cut. The hospital is working to, in their words, implement changes to care and monitoring of patients in seclusion and restraint to resolve the deficiencies. This has been going on for well over a year and a half, where every month and a half to 2 months, they get a nastygram from the feds saying, you need to clean up your act. And yet, here we are. Again. All right, let's look at Oregon's legislature. The Oregon legislature wants to undo Oregonians' property tax protections that were enshrined in ballot measures 5 and 50 and put in the state's constitution. And what Democrats in the legislature want to do is make it easy for them to raise Oregonians' property taxes as the state continues to lose businesses and continues with its job-killing agenda. A unanimous vote by an Oregon House committee, that means Republicans voted for this too, gives the green light to a bill designed to facilitate property tax increases in the state above and beyond Measures 5 and 50. House Bill 2321 is to put together a committee to look at options to gut Measures 5 and 50, which were designed to cap property taxes paid by Oregonians. The anti-home and property owner bill was supported by the League of Oregon Cities. They say it's a small step in the right direction for a process that could take decades. LOC, a government association which advocates for 241 of Oregon's incorporated cities, said local governments are crunching numbers and coming up short as costs rise, and the two measures keep market values of a home, or actually keep tax revenues low. And while proponents of the bill say we no longer look at what the real market value of a home is. They say we look at the assessed value, and the assessed value is 90% of what your home or property was worth. What they fail to say is that under the measures, property taxes are allowed to increase every year by a minimum of 3%, as in that's been 30% over the last 10 years. In the 1990s, Oregon voted in favor of the two measures. Measure 5 introduced limits on taxes paid on properties at $5 per 1,000 real market value for school taxes and $10 per 1,000 real market value for general government taxes. Measure 50 imposed a permanent operating tax rate limit on taxing districts. Since both measures are in the state constitution, House Bill 2321 forces the legislature to put together a committee looking at options to put on the ballot so state and local governments and other taxing districts can raise your property taxes easily and quickly. And the thing is, these limitations have been in place since the 90s. They've known what the limitations are. And at the same time, what have they been doing? They have been growing government. So they want to raise property taxes on people, for instance, that own their homes that are elderly, folks that are on a limited income, folks that are just starting out in life and could barely afford a home to begin with. It's a regressive tax, but that's okay. It's not your money. Lawmakers are moving forward with funding to maintain homeless shelter and emergency service programs in Oregon, but the monies spent are going to be significantly lower than what Governor Tina Kotek demanded in her recommended budget. The Oregon Housing and Community Services budget advanced out of its budget committee on Tuesday, and the budget fund is still a whopping $2.7 billion. But it's a 2% decrease from the 2023-25 legislatively approved budget. OHS said in a statement, quote, "This unfortunately represents a substantial decrease in general fund dollars from the governor's budget of roughly a total of nearly $500 million. They say, we recognize this will have an impact not only on our work, but also on that of our partners and that of the Oregonians we serve. So the bill gives $205 million to maintain support for homeless and emergency shelters. It gives another $218 million to Governor Kotek for her recommended budget, or is actually lower than the 218 that the governor wanted. Taxpayer monies in eviction prevention services are much lower than what the governor said she wanted. The budget allocates $33 million to fund eviction prevention services. The governor's budget asked for $173 million. Governor Kotek also wanted nearly $189 million to support the rehousing of individuals who are homeless. The budget instead spends $50 million for those programs. So interestingly, Democrats in the Oregon Senate broke ranks Tuesday and sided with Republicans, to vote down Senate Bill 916. We've talked about that here. The measure would allow striking workers to collect unemployment benefits. Ironically, the Senate originally passed Senate Bill 916 on a 16-12 vote and sent it to the House, where it was then amended and passed. The bill then returned to the Senate for a vote this week, where it failed 15-4. 4 Democratic senators joined all Republican senators in voting no. The bill is a priority for Governor Tina Kotek, and she said she will sign it. Now, the bill at this point is not dead, at least yet. Under legislative rules, the House and Senate are required to form some sort of ad hoc concurrence committee, which would then try to resolve differences between the two chambers' versions of the bill and put it up for another vote. Well, that's exactly what Senate President Rob Wagner did to look at some sort of change to save the bill for his union overlords. After a quick meeting of a concurrence committee, Democrats made one change to the bill, which was to limit the length the benefits could last from 6 months to 2.5 months. And it passed on Democratic lines out of the concurrence committee, and Democrats are now expected to try and shove it through the Senate. Oregon's unions, who essentially run the legislature, have been lobbying hard for this bill, but the bill has drawn a harsh opposition from both public and private employers. In particular, Oregon's school districts have said the bill will be financially devastating for them because they don't even pay into the unemployment insurance program. And if someone collects unemployment that's from a school district, well, the district has to pay that literally out of their pocket. And they say that a strike could cost them $1 million a week. Private employers, and that's not even including the cost of part-time teachers to come in during the strike. Private employers have argued it will increase unemployment benefit or payments for all businesses and will incentivize lengthy strikes. And by the way, it also takes unions off the hook for doing what they're supposed to do, which is provide strike benefits for their striking workers. Well, Springfield police officials say that somebody abandoned a newborn baby at a Dairy Mart, that's a convenience store, on M Street in Springfield over the weekend. Investigators say officers took the baby to a local hospital. She was medically evaluated and admitted to the nursery and was in good health. Springfield police then looked at security footage, located and arrested the individuals for abandonment, and they're facing a Class C felony for abandoning a child 15 years or younger. Now, while this kind of abandoning is illegal, believe it or not, Oregon actually has a law that allows a parent to legally abandon a child. It's called Oregon's Safe Haven Law. So a parent can take an infant that's 60 days or younger, that doesn't have any signs of abuse or neglect, to what they call an authorized facility. So this parent could walk into a hospital, a doctor's office, a birthing clinic, a police station, or a fire department and hand the baby to someone working at an authorized facility. They actually have to hand it to them. Now, then the parent can leave. And under the law, the parent does not have to give any information identifying themselves or identifying the infant. The child then becomes a ward of the state and is placed into foster care, and then the state hypothetically attempts to find a permanent home for the infant. The United States Justice Department issued a statement of interest in Oregon's elections office and their problems. And I say, how come it took so long? So this statement of interest is making two central allegations. The first is that Oregon actually doesn't follow 1993 federal laws by scrubbing dead and ineligible voters from its voter rolls. The claim is based in part on a 2023 report from the U.S. Election Assistance Commission. According to the suit, the report showed that 19 of Oregon's 36 counties had not removed any voters from November 2020 to November 2022, and that 10 other counties had removed 11 or fewer people in that time. In all, 29 counties reported a combined total 2,404,849 voter registrations as of November of 2022. Yet, they in total reported removing only 36 registrations in the 2-year reporting period. So you mean that only 36 of those 2,404,000+ people died? The second claim has to do with a public records dispute. They say that plaintiffs requested documents that detail notices the state sent to voters, requesting that they verify their registration information. Under the federal law, they're supposed to be kept for 2 years and freely inspectable by the public. Why wouldn't Oregon do that? And coming up this weekend, protests against the Trump administration over a variety of things, including immigration policy and the LA riots, and demonstrations are being planned in what is called the No Kings protest that's going to be happening likely all over the country. It's being planned for the Eugene area this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Wayne Morris Federal Building. Now, organizers are calling it a peaceful protest, but if you start going to social media posts surrounding this particular event, it's full of information and postings about how to deal with tear gas, pepper spray, how to avoid police, avoiding recognition, leaving your cellular devices at home so you can't be tracked, wearing masks and different clothing so that you can't be identified. All things that you want to do if you're going to have a peaceful protest. Eugene police say they're preparing for an event, and they say they're hopeful it remains peaceful. Like, say, peaceful, like the peaceful protests that we keep hearing about from LA. All right, the news brought to you by none other than Sean Sutherland of Ask Insurance. You got questions, you know who to ask. You ask Sean. Sean is the answer man. Talk to Sean. All right, Rick, it's time for you to roll out a big old industrial-sized can of real.